Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Big 12 conference tournament predictions, and I'm going to tell you right now, this prediction, we got some bold predictions here. This is the best conference in college basketball, and I'm very excited to make this video. Real quick before we get started, we got, if you count this video, I believe 23 college basketball conference tournament prediction videos already up on the channel. Make sure you go check those out. And not only do we do college basketball, we do college football, NFL, NBA, and MLB. So if you're interested in any of that, make sure you go down there, subscribe to the channel, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss out on any of our videos. And like this video if you enjoy it. Real quick, I just wanted to say thank you guys for the support. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. We're almost at 100 subscribers, and I'm very excited. So thank you guys for that. And my Discord and X are linked in the description. You can join that, follow that, whatever you'd like to do. But with all that being said, we're going to give you guys what you came here for, the predictions. So let's get right into it. So the 12-seeded UCF taking on 13-seeded Oklahoma State. And honestly, there's two teams here that I think are, kind of out of place in this conference. The entire conference of the Big 12 is inside of the top 70 in KenPom. 11 of them are, inside the top 61. So that just goes to show how good this conference is. But two of the teams are kind of out of place in my opinion, and those teams are Oklahoma State and West Virginia. So I'm going to give an explanation, but I'm taking UCF and Cincinnati here. Real quick, I'll say UCF is a pretty solid team. They're a sneaky little team. They have a very good defense just outside the top 12. Now, their offense does lag behind a little bit, but their defense is good enough to get them a win over Oklahoma State. West Virginia, very disappointing year, 9-22. They have played an incredibly tough schedule, but, very disappointing year. Cincinnati, one of those bubble teams that is going to need some work. They're going to have some work to do to get into this tournament if they would like to get in. They're 18-13, 75th in offense, 19th in defense. Very solid overall team. I'm going to take them over West Virginia. But now we get into the very interesting stuff. So, in my opinion, the top 10 seeds have a chance to get in the tournament. I think the top 9 are locked. Kansas State could get in. I think Cincinnati could get in. UCF, if they make it to the championship game, maybe they could be a first four team, but they might have to win the whole conference. Cincinnati does not have to win the whole conference, but they do have to make it far. Same with Kansas State, in my opinion. But the top 9 seeds, I think, should be locked in for the tournament no matter what. And yeah, so starting off with this 8-9 game, TCU versus Oklahoma. This is a pretty intriguing one. TCU is 33rd overall in KenPom, 31st in offense, 40th in defense, compared to Oklahoma's 40th overall, 47th in offense, so 16 spots lower than TCU, and then 32nd in defense, which is 8 spots higher. Overall, I think TCU is the better team here. I think they edged this one out in a close game, but Oklahoma definitely has what it takes to win this one. Both these teams are very solid teams. I'm just going to go and take TCU here. I think they're just overall a little bit better, and I'm not super high on Oklahoma this year. 5-seeded BYU taking on 12-seeded UCF. I think BYU offensively has enough to get it done over UCF. UCF, like I said, has a very solid defense, but their offense does lag behind a little bit. I don't think UCF can keep up with BYU. BYU is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. I think they are posed to make a huge run in March Madness, and maybe even this tournament. We'll see what I have. But yeah, I mean, like I said, they're one of the best offensive teams in the country. I believe they're either inside or just outside. Yeah, they're 12th in offense and then 44th in defense. Very, very solid overall in KenPom. And it's not like they haven't been playing anyone either. They like to speed up the pace, and they've played a very tough Big 12 schedule. I believe they've either beaten Houston or come very close. I know they have at least come close to beating Houston, but I don't know if they've beaten them. But their three-point shooting, I mean, they could realistically beat anyone just because of how good that shooting is. So watch out for BYU. They're my dark horse team. Seven-seeded Texas taking on 10-seeded Kansas State. Now, Kansas State is one of those teams where I think they need to do a little bit of work to get into the tournament. This is a very tough opening game for them, though. Texas is 23rd in KenPom. They're 20-11 overall, 20th in offense, and then 55th in defense. Kansas State is kind of the odd man out in these top 11 teams, top 11 seeds in my opinion. They're 68th. Actually, they're below UCF in KenPom. 142nd in offense, but 20th in defense. They're kind of just UCF, but just a tad bit less extreme, which I guess makes them a little bit better. But I'm going to go with Texas. I think they're the better team here. Max A. Smith's, transfer from Oral Roberts. He's been amazing for them this year. LJ Cryer as well. I'm going to go ahead and take the Longhorns. I think they will be able to get this one done. 6-seeded Kansas taking on 11-seeded Cincinnati. Now, normally this would be a no-brainer for me. I'm very low on Kansas this year. Not typical to see them at the 6 seed. Now, they will probably end up with maybe a 3 or a 4 seed. But I don't know. I don't like their depth, and we're seeing them struggle here without Kevin McCullough. And now, breaking news as of a couple hours ago, Hunter Dickinson is going to miss the entire Big 12 tourney. So their two best players are out, and I've criticized their depth all year. And now with their two best players out, now their three best players are phenomenal. That's why they have been winning as many games as they have, and they are, still a very good team. But without their two best players, it really does worry me. They're 18th overall in KenPom, 46th in offense, and 10th in defense, but a lot of that is because of Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson. So now Cincinnati coming in with a little bit of work. They need to do a little bit of work. They just won the previous day. I think they carry that momentum in and take down a limping Kansas. I'm going to go ahead and take Cincinnati. Like I said, I've criticized their depth all year, and I said that would be the fault of them for this season. Their depth is just not good enough. If they were to get in foul trouble or get injuries, they're going to struggle, and we're seeing that right now. I think Cincinnati gets this win and potentially locks up a first 4 spot in March Madness. I don't know if that would be enough. If they beat Baylor, that should be enough. With a win over Kansas, though, it might just be enough to push them over the edge, depending on how the other bubble teams do. I think Cincinnati goes out there and wins this one. That is a hot take. We got a lot of hot takes in this bracket because like I said, this is the best conference in college basketball. A lot of these teams, in my opinion, could win this tournament. So, we're just getting started with the upsets. 1-seeded Houston taking on 8-seeded TCU, and I just said we're getting started with the upsets. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and take Houston here. I'm not going to get that crazy yet. TCU is a good team and all, but Houston has been number 1 in KenPom for, I believe, almost the entire season. 11th in offense, 1st in defense. They might be my national championship pick right now, if I'm being honest. Just outside the top 10 in offense, and then they've had the number 1 defense pretty much the whole year. Jamal Shed, what an amazing player. He is just ridiculous. He's probably going to be an All-American. He should be an All-American. He is that good. And the rest of this Houston team, this Houston team has a recipe for success. Like I said, they might be my national championship pick, and they're different from previous years because in previous years, they've been this good, but they have not been battle-tested like they have this year. This year, in the best conference in college basketball, you're going to have one of the toughest schedules, and Houston does definitely, have some huge wins. They've only 3 losses on the year. LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Jamal Shed. It's a really good team for Houston. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Houston over TCU. They should be able to get this one done. I'm not too worried here. 4-seeded Texas Tech taking on 5-seeded BYU. Now, normally I might go Texas Tech here just because they're a very good team. They were first in the Big 12 actually for a while this season. They've cooled off a little bit recently, but they're still 25th in KenPom, 22-9 on the year, 24th in offense, 51st in defense. A little bit of a more offensive heavy team. BYU is actually higher than them in offense and higher than them in defense. I think this BYU team carries that momentum in, and I think they'll get Texas Tech. They think they carry some of that momentum, like I said, from the UCF win, and they'll be able to knock off Texas Tech here. And I'm telling you right now, if this BYU team gets hot, watch out. They're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, them and Nebraska. And if they can go on a run here, you don't want to play them. I mean, they were inside the top 5 in KenPom for a lot of the season. This BYU team is very good, and I'm very high on them. 2-seeded Iowa State taking on 7-seeded Texas. Now, Texas is one of those teams that I've seen on the bubble a lot recently. I thought they would be firmly in. With a win over Kansas State, that will probably push them over the hump. And even if they don't win, they probably should still get in. But honestly, I think they go out there and prove that they are a worthy tournament team. I think they go out and beat Iowa State. Iowa State's done a lot at home this season. On the road, they have not been as good. Now, they still have been very good. Iowa State is still the second highest KenPom team in this conference. 77th in offense, though, does concern me. They're second in defense, which, is very good. 24-7. They've had success this year, but the offensive efficiency does concern me a little bit. Texas is actually 20th in offense, 55th in defense, and in a lot of these conference tournament videos, I've went with the more well-rounded team, and the more well-rounded team in this case is actually Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and take Texas in a big upset here. I think Max Abmas gets hot. Dylan Dessou's been amazing this year. I think they go out and they upset the 2 seed in this tournament. Did I say LJ Cryer for Texas earlier? I'm sorry if I did. Did not mean to say him, but, Dylan Dessou, Tyrese Hunter, Max Abmas. Those three are just amazing. And Iowa State is a very good team, but I think Texas gets them here. Iowa State will have not played in almost a week at this point. Texas, just coming off a win, I think they get another one. And if there's anything I've learned from these conference tournament prediction videos, is there's a lot of upsets in March. So I got to take some here, so I'm going with Texas. 3-seeded Baylor taking on 11-seeded Cincinnati. Now, I know I just said I got to take some upsets, but I got to go with Baylor here. Baylor's a team I've kind of come around on this year. I was really low on them to start the year, but they have really grown on me. 5th in offense, 71st in defense. Now, that does concern me for how far they can get in March Madness, but in a conference tournament like this, I'm pretty confident they could get pretty far here. I think they'll be able to take down Cincinnati. But Cincinnati could come in and win this one. I wouldn't be surprised. If they beat Kansas, if they beat West Virginia, Kansas, and Baylor, they'll definitely get in the tournament. With a loss against Baylor, if it's close, they'll probably get in. Even if it's not, I think there's still an argument they should get in. And yeah, I think Cincinnati definitely has what it takes to beat Baylor, but I just can't predict that. I don't see a world where the 11 seed makes the semifinals. It could happen. This conference is very good, and Cincinnati's good enough to do that. But I got to go with Baylor here. It's just the safer pick, and I can't just go all upsets here. So I'll go ahead and put Baylor in the semifinals with a matchup, an in-state matchup actually against Texas. Houston, the number 1 seed, definitely locked in as a 1 seed in March Madness. They're taking on 5-seeded BYU. Now, this matchup is interesting. These two teams have played in close games this season. I want to pull up the actual scores of their games because I'm pretty sure. Houston beat BYU by 7, but that was a very close game. It wasn't a 7-point game. That was like a 2-point game within the last minute. BYU is right there with them. I'm telling you right now, I think BYU gets hot in this tournament, and if they get hot, like I said, they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. And I know I just said Houston might be my national champion pick, but I'm actually going with BYU. Like I said, if there's anything I've learned, it's you can't just always take the 2 best teams in KenPom to make the conference title game. I gotta go with BYU, and they're a very good team. 16th in KenPom, 12th in offense, 44th in defense. I know Houston is higher than them in both, but like I said, I think BYU gets hot. I think they can't miss from three in this game. Houston defense is very good, which that might not be realistic, but the best offense is usually harder to stop than the best defense. That's not always true, but when they go neck and neck, I'm not saying BYU has the best offense, but um, you know, you guys get what I'm trying to say. Uh, Defense is very hard, and Houston is very good at that. But sometimes you just can't beat a team who can't miss from three. That's just the reality of basketball. So I'm going to go ahead and take BYU. I think they get hot in this tournament, and I think they really improve their seed line with a win over Houston. Now we look at this matchup: seven-seeded Texas taking on three-seeded Baylor. And I'm gonna go ahead and ride this one out and go with another upset. I'm going with Texas. I've seen actually a lot more people. Oh, well, not I don't want to say a lot, but I know a couple people who have taken Texas to actually win the Big 12 tournament, which wouldn't surprise me honestly. They're a really good team. They're gonna have a tough path to get through, but that's the same for a lot of these teams in this conference, just because of how good the conference is. I think Texas could beat Baylor. Like I said, their defense isn't great, and Texas is the more well-rounded team here. They're, 15 spots below them in offense, but 16 spots ahead of them in defense, so they're just narrowly more well-rounded than Baylor is. I'm going to go ahead and take Texas. I think, similar to BYU, I just think they get hot at the right time, and I think they go in there and clinch a spot in the title game for the Big 12. So this is interesting. We haven't had this before. 5 seed versus 7 seed in the title game. And I was back and forth on who I actually wanted to go with this one, but I wanted to go a little bit different. I wanted to make a bold statement. I'm going to go with BYU. I just think their three-point shooting can carry them enough. The 12th ranked offense, 44th ranked defense. That is actually higher than Texas in both offense and defense. They like to speed the game up. They like to play fast. I don't think Texas defense is capable enough to slow them down. And like I said, when they get hot, they are tough to beat. Three-point shooting is very important, and they're one of the best teams at that. So, yeah, a little bit of a bold prediction, but, it's the Big 12, and I realistically think you could say that the top 7 seeds could all win this conference tournament. I wouldn't call that crazy. I think you could make a case for them. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. That's going to do it for the Big 12 Conference Tournament predictions. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss out on any of our videos. Popping up here is the Atlantic 10 and the ACC tournament predictions. Check those out if you haven't already. And as always, my Discord next, a link to the description. You can join that, follow that, whatever you'd like to do. But I will see you guys in a little bit with the Big East Conference Tournament predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this one.